Well, that was certainly a way to spend 2 hours of your Friday night. Welcome into Smack Talk here on the Sportskeeda Wrestling YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter channels. Sid Polar the third, SP3, my man, joining me, Rick Ucchino, here for the next hour or so, and we are going to be taking your comments, and boy, do I expect a lot of them, because, my goodness, that first hour and a half was pretty much unwatchable television. It was bad until Big E got on the screen to save the day. And I don't say that often about SmackDown, and I have been accused of being a WWE homer in the past. This was bad, Sid. Like this whole first 90 minutes was just nonsensical, hot garbage, and that's me putting it nicely. Like, this felt like I was watching a bad episode of Raw. Like, that's on the heels of Wednesday night, which was incredible. Whether you watch WWE or AEW, both shows knocked it out of the park. It is amazing to me that the same company that put on NXT on Wednesday puts on this show to follow it up on Friday. This was, my goodness, I just wanted to stop taking notes halfway through the show because I'm like, what's the point? What's the point, man? This is probably the worst episode of SmackDown I've watched in a long, probably since I started doing this show.
You know, I know on this channel they do a good, bad, and ugly for SmackDown.
Oh, I got plenty of bad and ugly for this week.
This was the personification of it, but it was kind of like jumbled up, where the bad was like the first hour or so. The ugly was like that middle portion where Reginald was the star of the show. And then we got some good towards the end of the show. You know, Big E's promo, his matchup, the main event segment, good stuff. But yeah, there was a lot of rough segments to get through to get to the good part of the show.
Jose, are you trying to poke the bear? Like, are you just trying? Like, I'm already sleep deprived. I'm trying to get this coffee to kick in. This show was just hot garbage, as I said, and you're going to come in here with this Reginald speak. Now, okay. No, I did not like the shopping segment tonight. That was crap. It was utter crap. It's not like it was bad. Like, and I'll admit that. Like, it's not like the concept of it was bad. Like, I have no problem with Nia being Reginald's sugar mama. All right, I don't care. If that's the angle they're going for, I think that's actually funny if done correctly.
Yes. But
this was literally just a dude shopping and trying on clothes, as Corey Graves alluded to, that I'm pretty sure this dude already owned. Like, this, there was no comedy. There was no, like, funny, like, you know, in those comedy movies where they play I'm too sexy for my whatever, and they're coming around dancing to the clothes they're trying on. It was none of that. It was just a dude trying on clothes, and then, oh, Nia, how can I repay you? And then her like, well, you can get it. And that's it. Like, that was the segment. It was weird. It was the only thing that made that segment was Shayna sitting there.
Yes.
On her phone the whole time.
Yes. Shayna Baszler was like Al Bundy going shopping with Peggy Bundy on every single episode of Married with Children. Shayna Baszler was us watching that segment. Like, I know most of us were on our cell phones, not really paying attention, saying, oh, this segment is still going on. I loved Shayna Baszler the whole night tonight. Shayna Baszler, between that segment and guest commentary, wanting to commentate on wrestling on a wrestling show seemed like the most difficult thing in the world for Shayna Baszler to accomplish. And that was hilarious.
But what does that say about your segment when the best part of it is someone sitting there doing nothing but looking on her phone? What does that say about the whatever it is that you are trying to portray on the television right now, where we are literally all just looking at Shayna going, we're with you?
Well, my big thing, like the segment itself in a vacuum, I think it works because I was all for it after that initial segment in a vacuum. I was like, I'm all for Reginald being a sugar baby. I want him to have the catchphrase of sipping ain't easy. I think they can put this all together and he could be one of the great characters. I feel like I had a horrendous take I think it was 3 weeks ago on this show, and I said Reginald is a top 3 character in WWE, and they have totally made me regret saying that over the last couple of weeks. But like I said, in a vacuum, that one segment, that was the best use of his character tonight. But when you put it all together with everything else, and yes, he was a part of 3 different segments on this show.
That's mind-boggling.
And he is the vocal point of the SmackDown Women's Championship matchup going into WrestleMania. And then the outcome of the matchup involving those 2 participants, yes, Reginald is definitely on the low list of people that is getting go-away heat after this episode of SmackDown.
There's so much wrong with what you just said. Not that, what you said was wrong, but everything you said was right, which is wrong. It's terrible. Yeah. It's like, first off, okay, here's my problem with Reggie right now. Here's my biggest problem with Reggie, other than the Sasha and Bianca stuff, which I'll get to. My biggest problem is you spent weeks, literally weeks, running these vignettes and teasing this big new character for Carmella, and then she finally debuts and she gets put into this major championship feud, and now several weeks removed from that, she can't get on television while the dude who served her champagne is on 2 shows, and I think he was on 5 different segments this week. Yeah. Why? We got 3 segments of Reggie tonight, but you're actively keeping Aleister Black off television. Why? It makes no sense. I'm not saying Reggie's not talented, by the way, but he's not like, hey, let's build the entire show around him good. He's not, let's shoehorn him right into the middle of this this Bianca and Sasha build toward WrestleMania. I feel like I'm about to sound very like stereotypical here, but they don't need no damn man in this storyline. Like, my God, you have 2 of the most powerful, successful women in the company who ooze star power, and your build to what should be a main event match at WrestleMania is to shoehorn a man right in there. Like, why? It is not necessary whatsoever. And then on top of all of that, your Royal Rumble winner was pinned by Tamina less than a month away from WrestleMania. What are we doing?
I literally just said on Twitter, Tamina just pinned the 2021 Women's Royal Rumble winner. I hate this show. And I say that and I think that when I watch on Monday nights. I'm not used to this on Friday nights. It's been all rose-colored glasses on with Roman Reigns as the tribal chief carrying the main event scene, and he made everything else that would be looked at as boring or uninspired on the show. He made it feel more important. But it just seems like as we on the road to WrestleMania and we got this detour, the fork in the road known as Fastlane, it seems like SmackDown is like tumbling at the finish line when it comes. There are 29 days till WrestleMania, and this is one of the worst episodes that they've had since Roman returned. That's not a good thing. But I mean, the main event scene is still going well. At least we have that. But yeah, I mean, we were just here a couple of weeks ago saying that Sasha and Bianca belong in the main event, and they do. They still belong in the main event. I'm not gonna get away from that. But the way they are treating this storyline and feud, it screams mid-card of WrestleMania.
Yeah, Philip, you're not wrong, by the way. If I could get Reggie to bring me a little snake bite for my coffee, that would be fantastic. But yeah, man, no, this is WWE taking something that's a slam dunk, a home run, right? Like I'll stick with the slam dunk analogy. They are right there. All they got to do is put the ball through the hoop. And they're like, nah, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to pass. I'm going to kick it out to the 3-point line for a little bit more flair because it's WrestleMania 35 all over again. You had Becky and Ronda. That's it. That's all you needed. Instead, the lead up to WrestleMania was, okay, well, what we're actually going to do is we're going to take Becky out of the match. We're going to put Charlotte in the match, and then we're going to have Becky earn her way back into the match. Oh, and by the way, then we're going to have Charlotte take the title off of Asuka a week before the pay-per-view, and we're going to make this a massive main event triple threat match, winner take all. What? Okay, now it worked. It worked. I think that is a very underrated main event. I know a lot of people weren't very high on it, but I think that's because it happened, one, at 1 o'clock in the morning, and two, Ronda and the ref kind of botched the finish a little bit. It was her job to get her shoulders down, and the ref shouldn't have counted until the damn shoulders were down. Okay, so there was a lot going on at the end, but that was still a really, really good match.
Yeah.
So all of it worked in the end, and it was a great moment for Becky Lynch. Now, though, this time around, instead of Charlotte Flair, it's Reggie that they're inserting into this. And it's like, you didn't need this. You didn't need this. I don't know. I'm not sitting here telling you how to construct the storyline, but I mean, you had two people who respected one another. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how. I don't even know what to say. Like my mind is just cloudy right now. Like I'm still just kind of fuming over the fact that this is the direction they decided to go.
Yeah, it's crazy to think that they have these characters that kind of, and the story really was right in front of them. Why I was so, enamored with the character of Reginald, and I was even, for him being involved in the Sasha and Bianca storyline, because I thought the storyline kind of wrote itself, that Reggie being, having the hots for Sasha, getting in Sasha's ear, saying that Sasha's better than Bianca, finally convinces Sasha that she can't just be heel for the 2 seconds that it takes for her to laugh, that she should just be heel the whole entire time and act better than Bianca and have Reginald by her side. I think the whole act of Sasha as the boss with Reginald as her assistant, I think would have worked better. And I think people would have been into that more than whatever's going on with Reginald and Nia. This just feels like WWE 1 week just came to television and just changed their mind, because it really looked like we were on the road to Reggie being the catalyst for the Sasha Banks heel turn. It still seems that she's leaning more towards heel because Bianca is the babyface in this story, but why are they going for the tag team titles when they've never won a tag team match? Yeah. Why do they want to team with each other? There's so many questions, and it seems like all this week, all I have is questions about the women's tag team division, regardless of what brand we're talking about.
Well, yeah, okay, that's why they needed to bring in NXT women's. You can make an argument for why they need to bring in NXT women's tag team champions, because the WWE has created a void by not taking those women's tag titles and putting them on Wednesdays, which would have been really easy to do, where you have 4 or 5 tag teams down in NXT that could be competing for those titles, but they've decided to actively not do that, thus creating the need for the NXT women's tag team champions. But again, WWE created that void on their own. They didn't need to create those titles. They just needed to properly utilize the women's tag team titles that they had already. Instead, now 3 weeks, I think it's 2 or 3 weeks. It's on the 20th. So 20 days out from WrestleMania, we're going to have Bianca and Sasha challenging Nia and Shayna for the tag titles. And the problem is Fastlane just doesn't need to be there. No. And I know we talked about this on the show before. 1, Fastlane doesn't need to be there. 2, it damn sure doesn't need to be there 20 days before WrestleMania. We don't even know what the card for WrestleMania. We're 28 days out. We don't know what the card is for WrestleMania. And we only got 2 matches for Fastlane. It's like they can't, or they won't solidify what the matches are for Fastlane or for WrestleMania, because we got to get Fastlane out of the way first. And it's like, no, you don't. Just get rid of Fastlane.
Yeah. And Fastlane should have been 3 weeks before WrestleMania. Literally after Fastlane, they had 3 Raws and 3 SmackDowns to set up an entire 2-night WrestleMania card. I already know that their job is hard, but they're making their job harder for themselves. It's just like, it's mind-boggling the lengths that they go to make this road to WrestleMania even more convoluted than it already is. It's just, yeah. I mean, after an episode like this, you have these questions lingering. But yeah, Fastlane doesn't need to be there. Fastlane doesn't seem that important since we only have 2 matches for the card, and they're throwing big time matches that could be on the Fastlane card, like Riddle versus Mustafa Ali on Raw, or Jey Uso versus Edge on SmackDown next week. Like, that could be on Fastlane. Like, do the Mankind versus Big Show from WrestleMania 15. Have it at the beginning of the show. The winner of that is the Enforcer in Daniel Bryan versus Roman Reigns later in the night. Like, I understand it's a hook for next week. It's going to get people to watch next week, but this would have fit more on Fastlane and actually get people to get the Peacock Network early for the first pay-per-view that's going to be on there.
Yeah, wouldn't you think you want to like advertise some matches more than a week out? To like, we know 2 matches for Fastlane for all these people that need to buy Peacock, right? So we know that it's going to be that the women's tag team title match and Roman and Daniel. And the build for Roman and Daniel has been pretty good. Yeah. There were some bumps along the road tonight, and we'll talk about those for sure. And trust me, I know a lot of people have been commenting about. I know Paul in particular has been talking about that opening segment. We will get there. Please continue to get your comments in, and please continue to engage with us. Whoever, thank you for Rebecca for laughing at something as presumably I said, and thank you to everybody else who has liked us so far. The more engagement we get, it really helps grow our audience. So continue to get those in. Please. And yes, I will get to most of those comments today. And yes, Paul, I hope, I pray. I doubt they even get that shot at WrestleMania, but I'm hoping one day the Riot Squad will actually finally win those tag team titles. And if you're going to do a tag team title match at Fastlane, that's what it should be. It should be the Riot Squad, or it should be Natalya and Tamina. Like, what do you do with Natalya and Tamina now? Because Natalya and Tamina just beat Sasha and Bianca, who have the title. So are we going to do a triple threat now? Is that what we're going to do? Are we going to shoehorn them into this match? Because honestly, that might be the best way to go, because it saves you. Because now you don't have to either have Bianca or Sasha win the tag team titles and thus probably taking them off of WrestleMania, or you don't have to have them lose again. But then again, WWE surely doesn't have a problem with having frickin' Bianca Belair eat a pin, or Sasha Banks for that matter. It's like, let's just try and cool down both of these women as much as possible before this big match at WrestleMania. It makes no sense. It's just one of a lot of things that didn't make a whole lot of sense tonight, and it just has me enraged. Like, it's just, I was expecting so much more out of this show tonight, and it just doesn't. Does it feel like WrestleMania season to you? Because it surely doesn't to me.
No, and it's funny because last week it did. Even though we were on the road to Fastlane, it felt like it was WrestleMania season because, you know, Daniel Bryan felt more focused on WrestleMania than he knew that Fastlane was his way to get to WrestleMania. So he tied it all in, and then everything just fell apart on this episode where it felt like we were on the road to Extreme Rules, the horror show, more than WrestleMania.
We need more Bray Wyatt for that to be the case. Philip, I always get flushed under these lights, man. Don't worry about it. I'm good. Okay, so I didn't even want to get it. That was, by the way, the longest opening to the show ever. Like, you said like one thing and immediately launched me like right into all the women's stuff that happened tonight. Like, that wasn't even my plan. I was going to open up with the beginning of the show and go through the show like we normally do, but now you got me all off the rails by just bringing up like one damn thing. I don't even remember what it was. I think you might have just said Reggie's name and that was it. And then I'm boom, baby, off to the races. There was one other thing. This is going to get even more convoluted because it appears maybe Nia is getting a SmackDown Women's Championship match next week. Because Reggie's like, oh, you should challenge Sasha. That way you can be the one with 2 belts heading into WrestleMania. Okay. That will be interesting, though, because Nia has been so protected. Like, I can't remember the last time she was pinned. Maybe it was Lana. I think
it was Reggie.
Oh, Reggie, yeah, right.
Reggie 3-4 weeks ago pinning her was the last female to pin her Because Lana didn't pin. No, I don't think Lana pinned. No, yeah. The one-on-one match
before the injury.
Yeah,
because she like fell off the rope and then Lana fell on top of her, and that was enough to keep her down. And then they beat the crap out of her, and that was right before they took her out of the match and put Asuka in.
So Lana is the only person since June of 2020, the only female to pin Nia Jax on television is Lana.
And then beat her in a tables match.
Yep.
The infamous hole match. You can watch that whole match on the WWE Network. I'm sorry, I couldn't resist.
For like one more week.
No, they're not shutting that off until April. Like April,
yeah,
something or other. Like April.
So 3 more weeks. Yeah.
By the way, can we just talk about how crappy it is that there's not instant rollover? Like, I know it's not that big of a deal. Like, it doesn't take long to sign up for Peacock, but man, can't you just transfer my account? Like, would it be that hard?
That's what they originally said too. They said it was just going to be a rollover. All you had to do was cancel your WWE Network prescription, get on Peacock, log in the same way, and it's the same thing. But now it's all changed. Of course, WWE can't keep their promise.
Of course, and also Peacock is paying $2 billion for this, and they're scaling down like the search bar and all this other stuff. And I'm just saying, this is going to be a disaster, isn't it? Yeah. I'm wondering how the streaming is going to hold up, because you're going to have so many people tuning in, no matter what the card. It's WrestleMania. People are going to tune in. I'm wondering how bad that thing's going to bog down, which maybe that's why they're starting with Fastlane. They're going to start that's the beta test. You start with Fastlane, make sure everything goes smoothly there, but then again, the numbers aren't going to be as high for Fastlane as they are for WrestleMania.
That's true.
I'm just worried. That's all I'm going to say. I'm a little worried.
And this is what they did in 2014 when they brought in the WWE Network. They started it off on NXT Arrival instead of WrestleMania, because they was like, we're going to do this, test it out on this show that doesn't really matter to us before we get to the show that really matters, folks.
All right, so let's hop into the opening of the show, shall we? Very impassioned promos to open up by Edge and Daniel Bryan. But, okay, so Edge comes out. He calls out Roman Reigns for backtracking, which is something that I actually talked about a few weeks ago. Tells Daniel Bryan, or says that tries to remind Daniel Bryan and the younger audience, which I really did like that line, because it's kind of like a dig at all those people who said who were pissed off that a 47-year-old won the Royal Rumble. Like, it was kind of a nice dig at them, trying to remind them of who the hell he is. And then he runs down his resume, which it's a damn impressive resume. Okay. Nobody's won more championships in the history of the company than Edge has. All right. And he didn't even talk about that. He just talked about all the dudes that he's wrestled. Daniel Bryan comes out. He interrupts, tells Edge that, what he said last week, because Edge took, exception to that, wasn't all about, Edge at all. It's about earning his spot at WrestleMania. Edge says he doesn't like how Daniel Bryan went about getting his opportunity, and says that Daniel Bryan is better than that. I have no earthly idea what this opening segment was about. This opening segment made no damn sense to me. I don't know why Edge would give a flying rat's butt about how or why Daniel Bryan goes about his business. Like, Daniel Bryan he really didn't even do anything that's outside of the box. He got screwed at Elimination Chamber, and then kind of played the system a little bit, got an opportunity against Jey Uso, won the damn match, and earned a title opportunity. Like, it's not like he attacked Kofi Kingston at Elimination Chamber, took him out of the match, and then won the World Heavyweight Championship after dropping the WWE title earlier in the night. For Edge being the guy of all people to say that, This opening segment made absolutely no sense. None whatsoever.
I think that he was betting on the fact that there was a lot of newer fans watching the show that doesn't know his history, because that's how it was kind of presented. I will give them credit with this opening segment. I think Edge, for the people that think like Edge, and there was people who were saying, like, why is Daniel Bryan getting this shot? He made a good case, for the fact that he should get the shot before Daniel Bryan, with the fact that Daniel Bryan was also in the Royal Rumble, which he won, and he called out Roman Reigns for the shot because he said he would after the Elimination Chamber, and he did that. But Daniel Bryan had the stronger argument because he said, I just finally went into business for myself. I finally did what I had to do to get my spot at WrestleMania. It's not about Edge, it's about me. And Paul said it best. That line that Edge said at the end was definitely an awesome quote. I could see that on video packages for Fastlane. You're better than this, he said to Daniel Bryan, but you're not better than me. That was just a very strong closing line. But like you said, Edge's argument had a lot of logic holes in it, especially if you know Edge's history. Daniel Bryan didn't attack someone that won the Money in the Bank briefcase and steal his briefcase to go cash it in on The Undertaker the following day. He didn't do any of the things that the rated R superstar, or even a better nickname for him, the Ultimate Opportunist, wouldn't do himself. Like, if you know the history of Edge, his argument made no sense. But the fact that, he called his shot at WrestleMania for the right that he won at the Royal Rumble, so he should get first rights to the title shot, and that Roman shouldn't probably be defending the title at Fastlane. I get that argument, but the verbiage that he used made it very confusing, or made it very difficult to even, favor Edge in this whole argument between him and Daniel Bryan.
Right. I think, and key word there is, I think that's what they're going for. It's one of two situations that I thought about this for pretty much the entirety of the show while I was watching the rest of this hot garbage. It was either Edge is pissed that Daniel Bryan is getting multiple opportunities at Roman ahead of him and hates the idea of facing Daniel at WrestleMania because he wants to be the one to take down Roman Reigns.
Yes.
Or he doesn't like Daniel manipulating the system to get a title shot because that's exactly what Edge would have done back in his heyday, and he truly does think Daniel Bryan is better than that. And honestly, it would tie in a bit to that promo that Edge cut to Becky Lynch back when they were still trying to make her a heel in 2018.
Yeah.
When he talked about having a ton of regrets, about his career. If it's one of those two storylines, just say it. Just come out and say it. Like, don't beat around the bush. Don't dance around it. Don't say, I don't like how you went about doing this and this, that, and the other. Just come out and say what you mean. I don't know what Edge meant because, again, it just left a lot of plot holes. And now I'm sitting here trying to piece everything together with a needle and thread. Like, okay, well, maybe he meant this or maybe he meant that. It was a good promo as a bubble because Edge doesn't deliver a bad promo. It just didn't make sense to me. Anyway, maybe it's the fact that I only got 10 hours of sleep this whole week, but
no,
that's okay. I'm glad. So you're with me on this one.
Yeah. I'm like I said, the verbiage, it just didn't make sense. And Edge is on an elite level as far as his promo work, especially last year, and even his promo work before the Royal Rumble, shortly after the Royal Rumble. But this was a misstep here. It was just verbiage that was very confusing. And although he did make a good case for the people that were already on his side, I don't think he convinced anyone who wasn't on his side to, favor him or see his point of view. He kind of probably made more people see Daniel Bryan's point of view, especially if you know Edge's past.
Correct. Now, we did get an interesting angle with Edge and Jey Uso in the middle of the show, where Edge kind of approached Jey and said, what the hell are you doing? This is after Jey went to go see Roman and basically got the old move along from Paul Heyman, like, hey, dog, bad time. Just go. He's still pissed at you for last week. So he's walking around the Thunderdome and this, that, and the other thing at Tropicana Field, and Edge comes up to him, basically says, what the hell do you think? Here's the line that I thought was the line of the night. Edge going, what does your dad think of all this? Just like, hey, I don't think Rikishi would like this crap flying. Like, I don't think he would be cool with how you're acting and how Roman's treating you and this, that, and the other thing. And then you could just see that cut through Jey like a hot knife through butter. And he got pissed off real quick. And he basically told Edge to F off. But the seeds of doubt were definitely planted there. And then I think you saw it even more in the main event segment tonight, which was actually good. Okay, we talked about this. The last half hour of the show was actually good. From Big E on, it was good. You know, Roman Reigns coming down to the ring for the contract signing, basically saying a few weeks ago, I was all about this. I was all into this. Now I'm not feeling it. I don't want to do this match. Whatever. Daniel Bryan then comes back, says, oh, okay. So you don't want to do this all of a sudden. Is that because I made Jey Uso tap out? I made him quit when you couldn't do this? Maybe I should just declare myself the head of the table. And he is just rattling these things off left and right. And Roman just is getting pissed off, just like, if you played it off really well, told Paul to hand him the pen. He signs it off. And then Daniel keeps shooting his mouth off. And then all of a sudden, Jey Uso, again, just that desperation, throws the damn table out of the ring and says, you know, basically gets up in Daniel's face and says, look, I'm here for my family. I'm going to be the special enforcer. Then all of a sudden Edge comes down and says, nah, bruh, slow down. Me, you next week. That's who will be the special guest enforcer, which means Edge is going to wrestle on SmackDown next week, which has me very excited. That whole thing worked, but you saw the desperation out of Jey Uso again, knowing he has to make it up to Roman Reigns, right? Like he has to make it up. He's tired of people talking down on him. Remember, Jey Uso hasn't won a singles match. Got 2 eliminations at the Elimination Chamber, but hasn't won a singles match since October, November.
Yeah.
So he's been in main events, but he hasn't been winning a whole lot lately. People are starting to notice it now. I like the fire out of everybody involved in this match. And then Daniel Bryan hitting the running knee on Edge. Not a bad way to close out the show.
I would say that Daniel Bryan and Jey Uso are kind of the glue of this whole main event angle right now. Like Daniel Bryan has been performing tremendously on the mic. As far as his mic work, he's been really carrying this whole main event angle and really getting people excited about a matchup between him and Roman Reigns. But Jey Uso, man, this character just every week is one of the highlights of the show. Between the backstage segment with Paul Heyman, like, I'm just going in here to see him. Yeah. All right. I'm gonna just go around. I'm gonna go around and I'm gonna come right back. Like it's just you see him and you're like, this is a real person. This is a real life character before your eyes because he goes through emotions that you would go through if you were in the same situation as him. And that's why his character resonates whenever he's on the screen. And he definitely did that between the backstage segments he was a part of and the main event angle. I loved every bit of this. The only thing I would have probably changed is, like I said, putting Edge versus Jey Uso on Fastlane and probably doing the what we thought was going to be the Fastlane tag team match. That should be the match for next week. And then do Jey Uso versus Edge at Fastlane. But if they're going to do it next week, I'm all for it. Edge being back in the ring on SmackDown, he's one of the Mount Rushmore of SmackDown, in my opinion.
Yes.
Him being back on the show is going to be great. Him against Jey Uso is going to be fantastic. And I just want to see what these guys can deliver, both on the mic, because I think they're going to probably have a couple of backstage segments or promos during the show next week, as well as in the ring. I think this main event angle is the only thing making people even slightly interested in the Fastlane card.
Reagan wants to know if Edge were to win at Mania, do you think he would wrestle often? Because it doesn't seem like he has been wrestling all that much. Well, let's remember he did wrestle damn near an hour at the Royal Rumble. He then did face Randy Orton the next night on Raw, and he is going to wrestle next week on SmackDown. So that's already 2 more additional matches than what Brock Lesnar would wrestle between the Royal Rumble and WrestleMania. So I think he would wrestle a fair bit. Like Edge even said this in an interview after the Royal Rumble. Like, look, I don't care what my contract says. If you need me in a title match program, I'm going to be there. And he has been there week in and week out. I think he missed last week, but that's like the first one he's missed since the Royal Rumble. He has been there. He has been doing stuff. He's been doing a lot of really good things with putting other talent over and interacting with other talent and laying seeds for future matches and getting us all intrigued. He doesn't always have to be in the ring. And honestly, I don't want to see him wrestle every week. Like the guy only has so many more ticks on his bump card. Let's make sure that we can protect him as much as possible because he isn't a spring chicken anymore. He's 47. He's coming off of a major career ending neck injury that stole 9 years of his career. So let's not throw him out there and have him wrestle on Raw and then on SmackDown and then on Raw and then on SmackDown and this, that, and the other thing. It's okay for him to take a couple of weeks off from being in the ring every now and again. But yeah, I think he would defend the title at every pay-per-view. I think he would show up on, whatever brand he's on, Friday, SmackDown, Raw, what have you. I think he'll wrestle quite a bit as the WWE champion if he were to win it. Now, the only way that I think he's going to win it, by the way, is if they turn this into a triple threat match, because there definitely seems to be a lot of people who think that that's the direction that this is going, because there has been quite a lot of interaction between Edge and Daniel Bryan, almost like they're not setting up a match between them in the future. They're setting up this triple threat match at WrestleMania, and they're going to try and make it even bigger and do Edge versus Roman Reigns versus Daniel Bryan. And that would open it up to take the title off of Roman without him eating a pin.
And that would probably be the best way to do it. And like I said, this is a real option, whether people realize it or not, that Edge can possibly win the title, whether Bryan's in this match or not. But yeah, I agree with you that it's more likely that Edge wins the title if Daniel Bryan is involved. But like I said, Daniel Bryan has been one of the highlights of this whole entire main event angle. So although, like I said last week, I do think that Edge and Roman is the stronger matchup on paper as far as like star power, as far as feeling like a WrestleMania main event, Daniel Bryan has been making this whole angle better. So I wouldn't mind it becoming a triple threat match at all. And honestly, Daniel Bryan being in the match would make it a better match as well. So there's not a lot of negatives to Daniel Bryan being added in here. I mean, yeah, it would take some of the focus off of these two great characters, but Daniel Bryan has kind of showed himself that he is a great character as well. So he would just be an addition.
Ozzy asking, so we're going to have WrestleMania class of 2021 and they're going to have 2020 together. Yes, that is going to be an extremely long Hall of Fame ceremony, and an extremely stacked one at that, because I mean, last year's class was stacked with Batista and the Bellas and the NWO. And now, by the way, congratulations to Molly Holly. Like, if you well-deserved, long overdue, but if you didn't tear up watching Hurricane Helms tell Molly live in person that she was going to the Hall, you don't have a soul. I'm sorry. I watched that 15 times, once with the sound off because I was at work, and I teared up every damn time. And I have no issues admitting that. None whatsoever. That was such a beautiful moment. And, I am so happy they decided to do it that way than just, announcing it at with the graphic and the video package and this, that, and the other thing. It was so much better just seeing her natural reaction in real time. It was such a cool moment. And again, just well-deserved. But yes, that's going to be a long Hall of Fame ceremony on the 6th, Tuesday the 6th on Peacock.
It's gonna be AEW Dark length for all you folks out there. If you're used to 2.5 hour, 3 hour wrestling shows on Tuesday, watching AEW Dark, you're ready for the WWE 2021 Hall of Fame.
I'm wondering how many people they're going to have in the 2021 class. Like, I know they usually do like 6 or 7 or something like that.
Yeah.
There's no way they're going to go that far with it, are they? Because usually they're announcing inductees in like January.
Yeah.
But then again, they probably didn't know that they were going to do this until like 2 or 3 weeks ago, because everything is such a fluid situation.
I legit have confirmation. I just did an interview on the True Hill Heat YouTube channel with Georgia Smith, the daughter of the British Bulldog. This was last Thursday. She did not know when the Hall of Fame was going to be then. And they literally just announced it this week. So she literally found out probably this week when everybody else did.
Dang. Where can people check that out, by the way?
Check it out. True Hill Heat YouTube channel. I point to the sign because it's WrestleMania season.
By the way, since we're going to go ahead and get the plugs out of the way, I did talk to Toni Storm on Monday ahead of her championship match on Wednesday. Unfortunately, she did not win that match, but we talked about a lot of other cool stuff that is up on the Sportskeeda Wrestling YouTube channel. So make sure to check both of those out. Heck, as soon as we get off of the air here in about 20 minutes or so. So let us move on to the the first match of the night, second segment. And this was a big 8-man tag team match, Sid. The Street Profits and the Mysterios versus the Dirty Dogs and Alpha Academy. Let me say that again real slow. The Dirty Dogs and the Alpha Academy. We had Dolph Ziggler and Otis on the same damn team.
Yep.
Like 2020 didn't happen.
Yep. They just, Thanos snapped 2020.
What is longevity? What is long-term booking? What is continuity? What is anything? Like, there was no opening segment like, hey, we're cool now. There was no tension between them while they were on the apron together. There was nothing. There was no Otis accidentally hitting Dolph Ziggler. Nothing. Not even a mention from commentary. Like, Dolph Ziggler spent the better part of a year making Otis's life a living hell. Dude tried to steal his girlfriend. Well, first off, he tried to take her before she was his girlfriend.
Yes.
Manipulated that whole thing, with Sonya Deville. Kicked off one of the hottest feuds last year, which was Sonya Deville and Mandy, and it helped make Otis. They kept this thing going. And then even towards the end of last year, Otis and Robert Roode are taking so many shots at Otis with his weight and calling him dumb and this, that, and the other thing. And now, just because Otis is a heel now, we're all good. Water under the bridge. I hate this. Even Kevin Owens, man, this was like a few weeks ago. I forget who exactly it was, but it stuck with me because he said, look, I don't like you. You don't like me, even though they were both heels. Like, they kept up the continuity. Just because you're both bad guys doesn't mean you have to like each other. And that's where Kevin Owens is a genius with working. Like, hey, look, we got to do this tonight. I don't like you. You don't like me. Let's just get together for 15 minutes to take care of business, and then we can go back to hating each other. There was none of that with Otis and Ziggler tonight. It just made absolutely no sense. And I found it really hard to pay attention to the match because I'm just sitting there looking for anything between Otis, any kind of reaction between Otis and Dolph, and there was nothing. Nothing.
We didn't even get acknowledgement from the commentary team. And this week especially was a glaring issue with the commentary team, because you just talked about it with the Edge and Bryan promo. Because Edge's verbiage was very confusing, it's up to the commentary team to kind of translate what the story they're trying to put across is. They didn't do that there. They didn't mention the Otis and Dolph Ziggler rivalry throughout a 15-minute, 2-segment matchup. They literally had every chance in the world to mention it, and they never did. And then later on in the show, again, it was another instinct of, why didn't commentary mention this when Kevin Owens gave us the whole story for the women's tag team title match? We'll get into that. But like, this whole episode, I was just like, man, the commentary team, what are they getting paid for? Because they're not doing their job of putting across the storylines from past, present, or the future. They're not doing any of that. They're literally just saying, you go out there, you do the commentary for the show, because we're just up here saying cliche comments and Corey Graves getting text messages. Like, I don't understand this whole commentary team. This whole episode was very infuriating. Now,
as somebody who has done commentary before, I'm just dipping my toes into that water. Like, I don't know. It's hard, and it is very complicated process. And I will tell you this much: we've all heard the horror stories of what it's like doing commentary for WWE with Vince and everybody else screaming in your ear the whole damn time, telling you to say stuff.
Yeah.
So that has to be a byproduct of it. And that has to be incredibly distracting, and it has to make it incredibly difficult to put a single thought together, let alone remember things that happened several months ago. All right. But then again, yes, it is the commentary to help. It's their job. That's why they're there. It's not just to call the action. It is there to fill in the blanks and help connect the dots of everything of the story that's going on and help remind the viewers of what happened. That's a more effective way of doing it than just showing us a replay package that you've shown us for 4 weeks in a row, or, that they typically do. But yeah, it definitely didn't help in this situation. Now, though, I will say this much, that there were two extremely big highlights from this matchup, and they were both tornado DDTs, because Dominic came out and hit an absolutely disgusting tornado DDT on Robert Roode. And the only thing that made it better or even outshined it was the way that Robert Roode sold it.
Yep.
Because I thought he legit was dead or was knocked out. I'm like, because he hit it flush. And I'm looking at him like, is he moving? Oh no. What happened? And then he moved and he popped his head up and I'm like, oh, thank Jesus. Oh my God, that was awesome. Like that was pretty much my reaction in real time of what happened. So that I thought was great. I thought like, look, in a match with Montez Ford, I thought that was going to be the match, the move of the match, but it wasn't, because dear old dad came around and was like, let me show you how it's done, son. And he hit one on Gable and just spiked the dude like he was putting a lawn dart in the yard. Like it was just boom. And oh my gosh, those two moves made the entire match. It really was a fun match. The part that I could focus on anyway.
No, it was a really good matchup. Like the Mysterios along with Street Profits was such a fun team. Like you said, the moves from the Mysterio family, like the great part about the tornado DDT from Dominic was that he bossed it, that he missed a step, but he was still able to pull it off. And Bobby Roode's sell of it made it that much better. And them replaying, and you could see him miss the step, but still pull it off. Just a great job by the person executing the move and the person selling it. That's how teamwork works in the ring, and that was great. But yeah, this match had a bunch of great action. I just want them to have some type of direction with the tag team division. Yes, we have these two different feuds going on, but I don't feel any direction with the SmackDown tag team titles right now. They just feel like they've been put on Roode and Ziggler because they were on the Street Profits too long. And there's not a really fleshed out feud between the two teams, even though they've kind of been feuding for months now. There's no story to it, but they've been feuding for months. It's kind of scary that this looks like it's going to be the SmackDown tag team title match at WrestleMania.
Yeah, it's going to be a fatal four-way. It's going to be a four corners, Texas Tornado, whatever the hell you want to call it. I'd do an elimination match personally. I think that would be great. But yeah, I think all four of these teams are going to be fighting for the SmackDown tag team titles at WrestleMania. Unless that's the match you do at Fastlane, which could very well be the case. Go ahead and put that matchup on Fastlane and then hope Jimmy Uso is ready to go. And then give us the Usos and the Street Profits like we deserve at WrestleMania. Okay, that would be the hope if Jimmy's ready to go. We've seen him running on the football field. I tried to get it out of Jay a couple weeks ago. I was like, dude, when are we getting him back? And he's just like, keep your head on a swivel, man. I'm like, well, I've been looking, and he ain't here. Like, come on now, like, let's go. But he wouldn't tell me. But that would be the direction I would go. If you can get Jimmy back, but it might make more sense for them to finish out the Roman Reigns and Edge stuff before the Usos go off and do their own thing, or they just stay with the head of the table gimmick and just, hey, look, here's everybody, and maybe add Tamina into that group, and we'll just do a whole family thing. Move Naomi over, why not? Screw it. Lana's been dumped by tag team partners before. All right, this would be nothing new. Especially if they go off traveling. That's going to be the interesting thing is what happens with Naomi and Jimmy being on separate shows, because I doubt they move Jimmy over to Raw because they're not going to split him away from Jay. So it's going to be interesting to see how we're still a few months away, I think, from traveling again. They'll have live fans in Florida, but I don't think they're going to go on the road anytime soon.
No, I think they're gonna, if anything, if they move out of Florida, they're going to a place and they're gonna be there for like a couple of weeks. I could see them doing that more than like traveling to different places every week. I don't think we're gonna see WWE on the road until 2022.
Oof. I miss live events, man.
Yeah.
I miss crowds. I miss everything.
I was just thinking, because we were talking about the SmackDown tag team titles. I also miss when the SmackDown tag team titles actually had feuds about it, like the Usos versus New Day. I even would take at this point Bludgeon Brothers versus New Day. That was a good feud in comparison to what we have now. Like, I feel like the SmackDown tag team titles have been doomed ever since The Miz and Shane McMahon won them in 2019.
Really? You think that's when they were doomed?
I honestly, I don't remember them doing anything with them ever since then. Like that's when it was just like, okay, we don't care anymore. That's when I felt like they just stopped caring. Like they were losing care at the end of 2018 when the Bar was teamed up with Big Show. I bet none of you remember that, but yeah, that was
that lasted all of about 2 weeks.
that was an actual unit. They started to not care there, but they really stopped caring when they just put it on Shane and The Miz, in my opinion.
You think SmackDown's bad? Have you looked at the tag team situation over on Raw?
I'd rather not.
I mean, they got the Hurt Business. Great. Nothing wrong with the Hurt Business. Love the Hurt Business. Love the fact that those tag titles are on them. They got New Day. Nothing wrong with the New Day.
Yes.
They got New Day. Nothing wrong with the New Day. I mean, the only other team, they got Retribution. God knows they ain't doing anything with Mace, or Mace and T-Bar could be a dominant force in the Raw tag team division. But they don't want anybody other than Mustafa Ali to actually get like a victory. And even when Mustafa Ali gets a victory, it's because of the other dudes in Retribution. Although I got to give it up to Slapjack. Slapjack had his best match on Raw this past week. That was a really, really good showing for him against Riddle. But he still lost. Like, I don't think Slapjack has won since he came up from NXT.
About as good as a 3-minute match you will see on WWE Raw. That was great. Yeah. It was a great sprint.
It was, yes, very, very good sprint. But Lucha House Party, I mean, the 2-man Lucha House Party now.
Yeah.
Because we can't get Kalisto on television. Over on
the Miz and John Morrison, you know, he's a former WWE champion.
See, here's the thing. I can't remember. Like, yeah, they're in there for sure. Hey, Damian Priest and Bad Bunny. There we go, man. Future tag team champions.
Money. That's money right there. Money. That's the money team right there.
That matchup, I guarantee you that's what we're going to get at WrestleMania. We're going to get The Miz and John Morrison versus Damian Priest and Bad Bunny. And that tag team matchup will be featured more prominently than any of the tag team championship matches we're going to get. We'll be lucky if we get 3 of them. Because if they put the tag team titles on Sasha and Bianca, we're not getting a women's tag team title match at WrestleMania. It ain't happening. Even with the show being on two different nights, I think they should close night. I said this last week. If they win those tag team titles, they should close night 1 with the women's tag team, with the women's championship match, the SmackDown Women's Championship match, and then open night 2 defending the women's tag team titles. That's exactly what they should do if that happens. I have no faith whatsoever in them doing that. And honestly, I don't have any faith right now we're going to get a Raw Women's Championship match at WrestleMania. With what's going on with Asuka right now?
Yeah, Asuka being, you know, out with a concussion. It doesn't look good. It doesn't look good at all. It just seems like Charlotte is cursed this WrestleMania season with that.
I mean, cursed or a blessing in disguise, because we were all going to get another Charlotte Lacey Evans match.
Well, that was a blessing. That's a blessing in more than one ways.
That pregnancy was a blessing, as they all are, but this one came with an added bonus, because I don't know who watched the other 5 Charlotte and Lacey Evans matches and said, yep, we need another one of those at WrestleMania, because those two have no chemistry. It happens. It happens. You can get 2 of the best athletes in the world, or even talk show hosts, 2 of the best talk show hosts in the world. If they don't have good chemistry, that show's going to suck. It's going to suck. Charlotte and Lacey are both very talented. Together, it's water and oil. Okay. They just don't mix. They don't dance well together. And that's fine. Don't put them at WrestleMania together. All right. Maybe they would work as a tag team, but wrestling each other, it don't work. There's no chemistry. There's no magic. That's fine. Let's move on. It's like they went on a date. Each person's great. They just didn't mix. They just don't mesh well together. That's fine. Not an insult there. Doesn't mean you have to go and, you know, I don't know. What's the WrestleMania of dates? Doesn't mean you got to get married. All right. You know, that's what I'm saying. But somebody saw that and went, yep, we need that at WrestleMania. No. But again, I have no idea what they do now, because if Asuka she's out with concussion, like the Wrestling Observer says she is. You don't know when she's going to come back. She may not be ready by WrestleMania. You got to strip her of the title, don't you? If she's not cleared by this week, or at the very least after Fastlane, you got to pivot. It sucks for her. It really does suck for her. You need a Raw Women's Championship match at WrestleMania.
Yeah, I think they're going to put a whole bunch of ladies in there with Charlotte and a mystery person. The mystery person is Rhea Ripley, and they just do like a 4-way or 6-way women's match, and Rhea Ripley should win to set up Rhea and Charlotte after WrestleMania. But
man, somebody hit me up on Twitter earlier today. I can't remember who it was, which, by the way, you can follow me at Rick Ucchino. I've actually been picking up followers recently, which is a nice change of pace. Follow Sid as well at True Heel SP3 there. But somebody hit me up on Twitter with the idea of doing a 4-woman tournament at WrestleMania. So having the semifinals be at night, like on night 1, maybe, or even night 2, or doing both. And then having somebody like a Peyton Royce pull the Jericho, where she beats like Charlotte and Shayna Baszler in the same night to win the Raw Women's Championship, and put somebody over and build up somebody new. The only thing I have faith in them doing, if they take the title off of Asuka, is just putting it right back on Charlotte again. Yeah. That is like the only thing I have faith in them doing.
I mean, that is what this company has basically tempered the fans to think. Like, we know that the biggest star on the women's roster on Raw is Charlotte Flair to the WWE. So we know the Raw Women's Championship match is going to have Charlotte Flair no matter what. A couple of weeks ago, Asuka wasn't even supposed to be in it. So the Charlotte Flair in the Raw Women's Championship matchup is probably one of the few guaranteed things at WrestleMania 37.
The only other thing that I could possibly think of, and again, this is still a tremendously quick turnaround, and considering what happened this week, I think it might be even less likely. But if Becky's ready to go at WrestleMania 37, she shows up. Let's say Charlotte wins the title off of somebody, right? Like, they don't. It seems to me like they got Rhea pigeonholed for coming back the night after Mania.
Yeah.
Seems like to me. So let's say Charlotte wins the title at WrestleMania. What if they pulled like a WrestleMania 3, where all of a sudden Charlotte is celebrating in the ring with her championship, and then boom, Becky's music hits. She comes down, challenges Charlotte, beats her, walks off with the Raw Women's Championship. If she's ready to go, if she wants to do it, I think that could be a cool little thing. But again, you're not building anybody new. No. All of a sudden, we're right back to where we were last year with Becky holding the Raw Women's Championship and people like Nikki Cross and Peyton Royce not being able to get on television. Speaking of people who weren't on TV tonight, getting back to SmackDown, because we're supposed to be talking about SmackDown. We go off the rails here sometimes. Last week we spent a few minutes talking about WandaVision and Coming to America. Did you watch Coming to America, by the way?
I still haven't watched it.
Oh my Lord.
I know. I'm slacking.
Ozzy was one of our fans here. Again, we appreciate all the comments who are coming in, guys. I'm doing a terrible job of getting to them tonight. So please get them in. But Ozzy said it was really good. Look, it wasn't as good as the first one. Never going to be as good as the first one. Like, the barbershop guys were funny this time around, but you were never going to live up to that original barbershop scene, which I think is top 5 funniest scenes in cinema history.
Yes.
Easily, hands down. I've watched that scene on YouTube at least 10 times this week after watching Coming to America. But of all the 20-year-old sequels that have been made in the last 10 years or so, this one's the best. All right. That's not saying much. That's not saying much, because I get excited. Like, I got excited about Dumb and Dumber 2, or the sequel to Dumb and Dumber, whatever the heck they called it. I got excited for that. Total letdown. I was ecstatic for Independence Day. I thought they had the perfect story lined up for that movie. Total trash. Waste of my life. Broke my heart watching that movie. This one, not as good as the first, not even close, but it definitely came through, and Wesley Snipes was the star of this flick. I think you are going to like it.
I'm gonna make sure I watch it before I'm back with you next week, so I could give a proper feedback on this, because that's a lot to live up to, saying it's the best 20-year or
No, it's
multi-year.
not. It's really not, because these 20-year sequels suck. Most of them.
Well, no. I was gonna say there's one. I don't know if it's 20 years. I think it's about 15. But Bad Boys for Life, that was better than the 2 original Bad Boys in my opinion.
Bad Boys for Life came out in
last year.
Yeah, so 2020.
Yeah.
Bad Boys 2 was 2003?
2003, 2004.
Yeah. The first one was like 95.
Yeah.
That was still Fresh Prince Will Smith. All right. Before his movie career really took off. So yeah, that was about 17 years. So that's close.
Yeah.
And Bad Boys for Life was good.
Yeah.
I still teared up when a particular character got shot.
Oh man, don't remind me. this whole show is gonna go left if you remind me of that. I just recently rewatched that movie and still got into the emotion. So yes, let's talk about SmackDown.
Anyway, back to SmackDown. So no Bayley tonight. No Billy Kay tonight. We have no idea what Sami Zayn is going to be doing heading into WrestleMania. We don't know what Baron Corbin's going to be doing heading into WrestleMania. We don't know what Kevin Owens is going to be doing heading into WrestleMania. I'm pretty sure Big E, which, by the way, we've already hit an hour. We haven't even talked about Big E yet, who had the promo of the night. Dude talking like when you start saying stuff like, I'm going to go Old Testament on your ass. Oh, now we rolling. Now we're talking. That was great stuff from Big E, man. Like he was playing it so perfect. He was so pissed off. He could not get the words out of his mouth. Like it wasn't like he forgot his promo. He was doing it right. Like he was trying to he was like searching for the right words to say to let you know how much Apollo effed up. And then he calls out Apollo. Apollo doesn't show up. So he's like, all right, whatever. I'm ready to whoop somebody's butt. So I'm going to call somebody out here. Open challenge. Let's go. This was hilarious. Was King Corbin answering the challenge, and he's like starting off, saying like, I have no problem tearing up my $10,000 suit. A lot of suit talk, like SmackDown was brought to you by Men's Warehouse or something tonight. But starts talking about, I'll tear up this $10,000 suit. And then all of a sudden, here comes Sami Zayn. I accept. I got it. I beat you. You kept talking, but I'm in. This is my rematch, baby. Pretty good match. He ends up getting his butt whooped, and then Apollo comes down and takes out E once again. That's a side of Apollo that I like a lot. Is this new aggressive side of him? This all worked, and this really helped turn around the last quarter of the show and really gave it some momentum. All of this worked tonight. So again, when Big E got on the screen, that's when SmackDown got good tonight.
Yeah, like I said, SmackDown has been on a roll since Roman Reigns came in as the Tribal Chief, and a lot of that was due to, at the same time Roman started going with this character, you had Sasha and Bayley going on underneath him. So you had 2 hot angles going on at the same time. Once Sasha and Bayley ended, it was only about Roman and the Tribal Chief character and the main event angle, in my opinion, on SmackDown for a while. Then this whole Big E and Apollo Crews storyline has basically just come out of nowhere and become one of my favorite rivalries, not just in the WWE, in all of wrestling. Like 2 characters that 6-7 months ago, a lot of people would say are 2 characters that are being underutilized for the talent that they have. Like Big E screams main eventer. That promo today is just screamed top guy status. Like he got the right emotion, he had the right delivery, his cadence was on point, and just his heavy breathing during the whole promo just drived it home. Like he had a rage that was building up inside of him that made you want to see him get his hands on Apollo Crews, and they booked that whole segment perfectly. You continue the whole angle that's going on between Sami Zayn and King Corbin, which is great. And it's totally opposite from that 8-man tag where Otis is a bad guy now. So he just totally forgets about his whole storyline and feud with Dolph Ziggler. They didn't let a female get in between them becoming friends, a year later. But Sami Zayn and King Corbin are both heels, but never get along at all. They're always, getting on each other's nerves. Sammy is just this paranoid type of character, while King Corbin is the snob, and they just always seem to get in each other's ways, and they have developed a good chemistry between them. And that's also one of my favorite stories going on SmackDown, and they haven't even wrestled against each other, which shows a lot of patience from WWE, which I'm not used to all the time. But back to the Big E and Apollo, the promo was great. Apollo's, presence and the way he presented himself at the end with his attack was awesome. I just like where both of these characters are at. Don't give me them naming this match for Fastlane next week with a week in advance. This needs to be the Intercontinental title program going into WrestleMania. So I hope that they just bypass Fastlane. They keep the storyline going next week, but we really get this revved up for WrestleMania.
I don't think these two are going to have a one-on-one match at WrestleMania. I don't think that's going to be the case. And mostly because we've already seen them wrestle 3 or 4, 5 some odd times already. Yeah. That would be like putting Drew McIntyre and Sheamus at WrestleMania after watching so many matches that we've seen. Granted, both those guys beat the holy hell out of each other, and that's a feud that the term Fight Forever was invented for.
Yeah.
But it just kind of loses its luster. I think we're going to get an Intercontinental title match at Fastlane because, again, we need matches on the card. And then all those names that I mentioned, those guys that have no direction or no match at WrestleMania, the Kevin Owens, the Sami Zayns, the King Corbins of the world, 6-man ladder match for the Intercontinental Championship. And again, that would be a way to get the title off of E without making him look too terrible. So E can ramp up and get into his Roman Reigns promo heading into SummerSlam, which should be the match at SummerSlam. That should be it.
Correct.
Hands down. That's just what it is. By the way, when you brought up E's heavy breathing, I couldn't help but immediately think, boy, I hope Shane McMahon was taking notes.
Why do you keep reminding me of these moments that made me cry or nearly made me cry? And that moment in particular, you got to understand, guys, I have 2 twins, a boy and a girl. They just turned 1 years old last weekend. I'm tired by the time Raw comes on. And you can only imagine I'm really tired 2 hours into Raw. So when that segment happened, it literally put me out for the rest of the night. And I had to watch Raw over at 4 or 5 a.m. in the morning. Don't remind me of that, please.
The fact that both of us have this much energy at now 11 p.m. on the East Coast when we have, between the two of us, 4 kids under the age of 3 is a damn miracle. A damn miracle, I say. Paul, great question. Is Fastlane only for SmackDown? No, it's not. It's all of them are dual now. But for some ungodly reason, we have a United States Championship match and a Raw Tag Team title match on Monday instead of at Fastlane 6 days later, which means we're getting dodgy finishes and probably both matches run back at Fastlane. Maybe one title change, maybe one. I personally would pop if Mustafa Ali wins the United States Championship. I would.
Yeah. I
know Riddle just got it off of Bobby Lashley, but I think that was more out of necessity because of obviously what transpired in the week that followed. Man, I would. If Keith Lee's not ready to come back and take that United States Championship, I'd love to see Mustafa Ali get a run with it. And more importantly, have him defend it against Kofi Kingston at WrestleMania. But the problem is they need Kofi Kingston in the damn tag team title match because they ain't got no damn tag teams.
Exactly. I was gonna say you could give up on that matchup. I was all for that at WrestleMania myself, but it seems like that's not the direction.
They just gave up on it because they need a new day in the tag team title feud. We don't have a tag team title match at WrestleMania for Raw. What are we doing? Paul, yeah, I know. Okay, I get it. Riddle losing. Yeah, I know. I'm not great at. I'm not one for hot shotting or hot potatoing titles, but man, Mustafa Ali has a chance to become United States champion. Okay, let's. That's the focus. That is so money. I want Mustafa Ali carrying that United States Championship, coming out to "I'm a real American." That's what I want. That is money. That is heat, my friend. That is just perfect. It's poetry is what it is. And it would be beautiful to witness. But we ain't going to get it.
Nope.
Not a chance in hell. I know we are way over our time already, and I know I'm going to get yelled at for that. But real quick, Cesaro and Murphy had another match tonight. Pretty decent rematch until Seth Rollins interfered. He beat the crap out of Cesaro tonight, and I know it's Seth Rollins. All right, I know this is Seth Rollins, but Cesaro now has to live for the rest of his life with the fact that he got his butt whooped by a guy in a turtleneck and green plaid pants.
Hey, that fit was immaculate. His fit game has been immaculate. He has been providing exceptional suit game over the last couple of weeks. But I like the direction the whole storyline is going, especially with him going backstage, having that stare down with Shinsuke Nakamura. Give me Nakamura and Rollins for Fastlane, add another great match there, and then Cesaro and Rollins for WrestleMania, because that Cesaro deserves a one-on-one match at WrestleMania more than anyone on the roster, in my opinion. And Shinsuke Nakamura versus Rollins would be a hell of a match to add to Fastlane.
Yes. By the way, Cesaro should get the title program with Roman Reigns first.
Yeah.
And then Big E and Roman Reigns at SummerSlam, where E gets his culmination as a main event superstar. I know we went way over, and I know I didn't get to nearly enough comments this week, guys, but you were just all over the place. I promise I'll try to do better next week. Rick Ucchino and Sid here with you guys. Make sure to follow us on Twitter. Make sure to subscribe to the SK Wrestling YouTube channel, and please join us again next week when we recap the Go Home Edition, heading into this really necessary Fastlane pay-per-view. It's going to be great. Hopefully we know what the damn card is by then.
Hopefully.
I was going to say, because you're going to do a preview, right?
Yes.
Have you got the guests lined up for next week yet?
Yes, we're going to have Louis Dangor of Wrestle Talk on our pay-per-view preview for Fastlane. So hopefully we'll have more than 2 matches to preview on that preview next Friday.
Well, considering Raw's the go-home show, right? Like, they have to have some, don't they?
Yeah, hopefully.
We can't go. Would that be a record, going into a pay-per-view and not having any of the matches announced ahead of time? Like, all of a sudden it's like Sunday morning and we just get to like rattle off like we're waiting for the starting lineups for NFL Sunday to come out.
Well, they're on pace to match the record of December to Dismember for the least amount of matches we knew before pay-per-view.
Things you just made me realize still existed. My Lord. All right, we're way out of time. I still got work to do tonight, guys. We appreciate everybody who's watched. Make sure to get those engagements in, even if you're watching after this, after we ended going live. And we'll be back next week, 10:05 Eastern Standard Time. Show can't get much worse than it was this week, although I say that, and they've surprised me before.